Dude, we have zero questions for you, but
JC told me, he's like, yeah, get some questions ready for Shane. I was like, okay, yeah. Asked me yesterday at like 4 o'clock. Get any questions? No.
we have a list. There's one item on the list. Welcome everybody to the 881 Casting Couch presented by NAPA AutoParts Fort McMurray. Today we're back.
AutoParts.
Can you say it, dude? I don't know why I'm doing the intro.
Presented by NAPA AutoParts.
There you go.
McMurray.
I think
They put it with the big NAPA on the screen anyway. Today I'm with my co-host,
Paul Gracie.
and
Or
we
Grady,
have
or Beluga.
pretty cool, interesting guy today.
stretching it.
What's your name and what do you do?
Well, I'm Shane Ganong. I've been in town 22 years now. And I'm a hobby fabricator. I was pretty big in the community years ago. I got the racing going and just trying to have fun while I live here.
But racing wise, like how did you start? Because I know you were involved with the racing track for years and years and off road before. Like, how did you even start?
I started out in off-road fabricating big trucks and
Back home or up here?
Here.
Oh,
I never did much back home. It was right after I graduated, I came right out here.
same thing for me, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, back home there wasn't much money, and stuff we got were hand-me-downs. We just trashed it.
And Toyota Tercel or Corolla.
Wow, it sounds like we all have the same backstory.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I noticed with the expansion of the city, we're losing a lot of trails, and yeah, so I was big in the off-road, and so I started the Northern Off-Road Society. It's a Facebook page.
Oh, so you're the one started it?
Yeah.
Because it's still running, isn't it?
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
Do they still do events? Is it just in Fort Mac or
It's
is it?
just more just like kind of like the Jeep Club, where it's just a private thing. They get together amongst themselves.
Do you still attend at all or no? Just gigs.
Well, the Northern Off-Road Society, we went after. I wanted something more organized, something more secure, something a little bit safer. So I remember the racetrack being there the whole time I lived here. I drove by it so many times. I went in there a couple times, just checked it out. And then in 2006, somebody actually took it over
Yeah.
and they made a big mess of it. There's a lot of dumping in there. They've got a lot of money from the community and didn't do anything. And eventually, so I wanted to do something similar. So I tried to get it from him, but he wanted like an astronomical amount of money.
Oh, so was it? Because my understanding of the track is it's government land, isn't it? Or
It's leased.
so is it still this? Was it still the same back then, or was it
Yes.
private?
Well, the original creators was the Clearwater Car Club. And it was originally just a bunch of community members in the 70s who was basically a burrow pit when they built the highways.
Yeah.
And so they just did their own little thing. It was unorganized, nothing was legal, flat track, just had some fun. It ran for about 6-7 years roughly, then it shut down for a while. And then they came in and did it full legit. Like it was a nonprofit. They got a lot of donations from the sites and the cities. They got the lights and they put the stands up and the banks and all that stuff. And so they ended up running to about, I think it was early 90s.
Yep.
And then they shut down again up until 2006 when it was a guy from BC came over and he basically convinced them to hand it to him. And it was a 99-year lease. And it actually went from where the edge of the track is onto the other side of the highways.
Yeah, because I remember you were talking about the.
Huge lot, but most of it was unusable because of the highways, right? So fast forward, we ended up getting a piece of land up on Tower Road. We were going to build a big motorsports park, but it was raw land, so very difficult to do. And so I worked with the Sustainable Resource Development, and they suggested that area because we were doing a lot of trail cleanups and with the environmental committees.
Does that spot still exist in Tower Road? Like what happened to that?
Well, the whole process, when we ended up going after the land, we got it.
Yeah.
But while it was in process, I get a phone call from Bishops, and they were like, "Hey, we got somebody in here trying to get money to take over the racetrack." I'm like, "What?" So I called my contacts and I was like, "What's going on?" Like, I'm getting some rumors. He goes, "Yeah, we went in and took it away from him. The guy who had it back in 06.
Hmm.
So I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" Well, they're not legally allowed to let people know what's available and what's not. So I was like, "Okay." I said, "Can we have it? Can we go after it?" And he was like, we want someone we can trust in there. I was like, well, can we go after it? He was like, I said, I need someone we can trust. I was like, enough said. So we went after it, and all the off-road guys got together, and we pulled up some money. It wasn't much. It was like 16 grand to actually get the lease. Stewart Land Survey.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
were the ones who basically donated all their time for all the surveying, all the documentation. Um,
Because does this act as a nonprofit, the racetrack,
yes.
or yeah?
Because in 2010, I went and registered all the paperwork, got the nonprofit going, and me and a group of friends had the board of directors. Even though most of the work it was just me, I
Yeah.
just needed the people in place just to get all the up until we actually got the lease. And so, but when I went in there, once we started processing, I went in there to the racetrack and started snooping around, seeing what was there. And inside one of the campers was a file folder drawer of all the original Clearwater Car Club nonprofit documentation. It was all typewritten out, and everybody from president, secretary, everybody that was there was all listed. And it was even a funny story, a little backstory. While I was going through the file work, a friend of mine, James Banson, he's an albino, and he had trouble in school. And this is when computers were just starting to come out. So the CNIB, the Clearwater Car Club, and the school all wrote letters to get him a computer for school.
Oh,
It
really?
was all in the file work, a picture of him when he was a kid. And it
Is
was
there
pretty cool.
a?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But is this still a thing, Clearwater Club, or no?
They shut down.
And there's nobody around in.
No, well, I reached out. I took the list of people and I started hunting for them.
Yeah.
And all over social media, and I found a lot of people and to find out like what happened, why did it fail, stuff like that. Trying to do as much research as I could, so we don't repeat the same things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just run for 10, 15 years and then crash again. So I just took that information and right away we ran 2 events in 2011 with off-roading. We did like a tough truck, cheap truck, and we brought in over 3,000 people in 2 days.
Wow.
And that's when Kim Farwell came in right at the just before the very first event. It was like a week before she stepped in.
Yeah.
And she got the face painting and the bouncy castles and all that brought out. It was a big hit. So right then I knew, I was like, okay, this is awesome. Let's keep going.
Why they stopped doing that though?
Well, the issue was I was kind of ignorant to how the whole process worked. I wasn't educated. I was just winging it because nobody else was doing it. So I said, I got to do something. And I spoke to the MDRA because they're very similar to offset off the highway, same type of thing, motorsports. And I called them up and said, what do you guys do for permits? And they were like, well, we own the lease, so we can do whatever we want as long as it's within guidelines of our of the lease. Right?
So they don't require an actual like special event permit or
Well,
nothing?
they misunderstood my questions.
Oh.
And so I went ahead and did all these events. And then when I went to go talk to the city about certain things, and they were like, oh, you need a development permit. I said, well, what's that? Like, oh, in order to operate, you got to have one. I was like, well, I thought this place was already existing, like same as the MDRA. And they were like, no, you got to do a whole new one. I was like, oh. So they basically said we had to stop. But that wasn't the case. We could have done things on a private level as long as we keep it under a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
But the people in power at the time just wasn't interested in it, didn't want it, and I didn't know. So I just stopped. And so it went quite a few years with nothing happening. And the off-road community wasn't big enough to run something of that scale. So that's when I approached the drivers club at that point. And I was like, if we don't do something, it's going to go away because it's cost us money every year for like the lease agreements and all that. So it's not much, but
It's enough
it's,
to
it's
like,
enough, right? When you got no income. So that's when they all basically said, we want to see something more pavement, stuff like that. And I said, well, that's a big ask. I said, well, let's run it the way it is for X amount of years, prove to the
until
community that we can do it.
sustainable,
And then the companies will want to get involved.
yeah.
And I said, and we'll get to that. And most guys are like, oh, let's do a drag strip. I said, well, that's huge.
There's not. Yes, it actually works well. They work well probably where you two from as well, right? Because it's a cheap alternative to motorsports. Like I keep saying, like anybody can take their mom's car and just
Yes.
but you need the land to do it. 'Cause,
Well,
Yeah,
you can't
that's-
use any airports up here like we've tried.
yeah,
Like I've called the airport authority and talked to everybody and said, hey, is there any way we can do a taxiway or the old airstrip up north and stuff like that? But
there's
no,
nothing.
everything's either emergency or constantly in use.
Yeah, that's what happened with the drag strip in Cape Breton. We had a quarter mile for years. It was Old Runway at the airport.
Yeah.
And that got shut down because it was gonna what was supposed to be used for
Yeah.
emergency and all that stuff.
Now
Oh,
there is,
really?
Yeah.
there is real estate available. Like I said, I've done this research, and like off the embankment to the racetrack.
Yeah.
Like right from
Yeah,
Wilson's is
behind
yeah,
the
down the embankment where Stony Valley is now.
yeah.
So if you went from the edge of Wilson's all the way down to that river, it's basically 1 mile.
Yeah, because a lot of people that, so I've dipped my toes in drag. Like I've worked there for
Yeah.
like 16 years, right? So a lot of people that what they don't understand is you don't just need to build a track. You need to build a deceleration zone or whatever.
Yeah,
they
well,
call
if
it.
you so for
Yeah.
example, if you got a half or a quarter mile,
You need
you
quarter
need
mile to
half a
break.
mile.
Yeah,
right?
you need another quarter mile to break,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's the problem with the new location in Cape Breton where it's at. It's only an 1/8 mile now, even though it's over a quarter mile track. But yeah,
But
there's no decel, right?
They
Yeah.
need a whole quarter mile.
Yeah,
to,
there's 0 decel there.
But an 1/8 mile would still be perfect.
dude, that's what I
1/8 mile be. Look at Rimby. Rimby gets a lot of traffic. Rimby's a no prep 1/8 mile.
yeah.
Like
I keep saying because like I said, our track back home is super successful. Like I went there a couple of weeks ago just to have like a fun little trip. There was 6,000 people on a Friday night in the town. Like the town itself has 22,000 people.
Yep.
They all come from a surrounding area. Dude, it's like a sea of people.
Yeah.
And like I know the back end of it because like I said, I worked there for like 16 years, and I know the guy who originally started that track. Like it was an old airport an old airfield that was privately used, and he just went by and was like, yeah, do you mind if we can do like drag racing every Friday or so? But they were like whenever you actually make the logistics, when you think about it, like 20 bucks a ticket times 6,000 people, that's a lot of income that's coming. So
Yeah, but back onto the whole story there. So when I approached the drivers club, and we had a game plan.
Yeah.
So we were like, I built 4 or 5 cages for like $100. They bought all the gear just to get the cars out there, get them going, and basically what my plan was a long-term plan.
Yeah.
And like, because we're really constricted, right? We only got what's there, and that's it. There's no room to grow because all the leases around us are all acquired. So in order to get them, we're gonna have to approach all these companies, and so I was going to do it in stages. We're going to keep it dirt, run it like that as best we can, and then pave the place, because then that opens up the door for so many things like karting, autocross, drifting, still do oval racing. So, and once you get to that point, you're going to have enough revenue coming in where you can invest all that. It's a nonprofit, right? Everything goes back in. And then you can actually start hiring people to actually run this, because you're allowed to do that, right?
that's what I keep saying. Like it comes back to the simplicity of the track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to bring their car on dirt.
No.
But everybody will pay like fucking what 20 bucks to go do a few laps on a paved oval just to see how much their car runs. You know what I mean?
But it's not just that; it's just revenue.
Yeah,
You
100%.
want to bring in the revenue to keep a place like that sustainable.
The spectators, the racers, dude. We can do scales there every Sunday. You know what I mean?
And then
So-
once we get to that point, we could get enough investment from the community and from grants and stuff like that to build a drag strip.
yeah.
So
Yep.
we can keep building up to it, because it's a lot of money and a lot of groundwork.
Dude, like, yeah, I think paving the oval, the quote was 3.4 million, but
Yeah.
it's everything though. Like
Now, when just before I left, I had spoken to, well, Clean Harbors came to me.
yeah.
I was at the track one day and one of their trucks rolls in, same as the Prairie Crane.
Yeah.
I was just there one day and they rolled in. I was like, what's going on? Let's help. I was like, hell yeah. Right. So when Clean Harbors approached us, I was like, okay, this is worth investing now in some time and footwork. So I got the Prairie Crane, Stony Valley, Wilson's, all these big companies kind of just talking to them.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
was set in stone. And I basically said, if we do like a 5-year plan, we run it the way it is, You guys help us as best you can along the way with equipment or whatever we might need. And I said, in 5 years or 6 years or whatever, depending on the economy or whatever the case may be and timing, I said, would you everybody do their part and help us pave this place? It's like Wilson, Stony Valley can do the groundwork, stuff
And
like
it's
that.
literally all companies that
Yeah.
revolve around
Yeah.
pavement. You know what I
And
mean?
nothing was set in stone, but it was worth investing, and they all had interest. Like
Yeah.
they didn't say no, go away, because that happened a lot, right? Yeah, because the last guy I had the track did such a black eye on it. Like I went into some companies, and once I said it was what I was there for, they just told me to leave.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah, because they still assumed that it was
It
under
was the same
care
old.
control, right?
Yeah. But it sucks because a lot of companies are actually willing to invest in town, like especially for a place like this that they can
Yeah.
see like people being at like they'll have 2,000 people every Friday night or Sunday night,
Yeah.
like if they really really want to. It's part of growing, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure at one point they'll get to this point, but it's just part of growing, and
Yeah.
there's growing pain along
Takes a
the
lot.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it takes somebody like you that's very, very motivated into one specific goal,
yeah,
and you'll find that like we're pretty close to in that point, right? We find every single way to try to find to go to that goal, right? But it's just unfortunate that right now there's not a place up here in town to
yeah.
do it.
Well, I think my timing was a little off.
Yeah,
Like now that you guys are here now, because this was back in 2008 when I started all this,
yeah,
and it went really good. It was hyped right up, and then it crashed, which hurt the whole movement in a sense, right? So now that it's starting to come back, and they're still doing a good job out there.
yeah,
And from what I understand, they are talking about now finally starting to pave it.
yeah,
Because in 2019, the whole thing was just stressed me out so bad. Everything wasn't going the way I hoped it would, and the people I had brought in when we first started getting momentum, they didn't want to entertain the paving idea.
yeah.
And then I lost my job with one company, and I decided to start my own business. So at that point, I was like,
That's enough.
it's
Yeah,
just too much. I'm going to walk away, let somebody else take the reins. It was 11 years
yeah.
I worked on that, right? So yeah, it was rough, but I'm past it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Move
think,
on.
like I said, I think it'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
It's just a matter. That's what kind of scared me whenever because we pushed really hard towards the track, like for 2 years, like try to build momentum.
Yeah.
And long story short, we just it just kind of died down, and then I'm scared that it's gonna go up and crash
Yeah.
again. So
And like that's the thing about dirt. Like it's great, it's fun,
yeah,
but you're limited to what you can do.
that's the thing, right?
The work involved in a dirt track is insane. And if we were down south closer to farmers, it'd be a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah,
But it's just not. And with people being shift work, you're not going to get that amount of people that you really want to need for a place like that to grow and to be able to open up the door later on. Like I was kind of hoping that spot down below, if the drag strip was never an option, is eventually acquiring that so you can keep the dirt and do
yeah,
a big cement pad.
yeah.
That'd be ideal,
So that's all you
right?
need really to have.
Because that's why Castrol still has a dirt track, because it's still fun. It's
Yeah.
still good. It still
Mhm.
brings a crowd in, but we just don't have the region to be able to support just that with the amount of motorsports events that are happening just outside of that.
Yeah, but like I'm 100% like towards like dirt racing.
Yeah,
Like I personally believe like any racing is good racing.
it's
So
fun. It's fun as hell.
it's fun, it's cheap, it's a good weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but my thing is, in my mind, I see what can grow the track and
Yeah.
what can like make money and be sustainable in the
Because
future.
that's what's going to build for the rest of the stuff.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
the
'cause-
foundation, right?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, not everyone's got the same view as us, as all racing is like fun. Some guys are strict on what they do, right?
That's the thing,
Like,
right?
Some guy might be just strict on autocross, and like, it's not everyone's interested in opening up and going to different styles, right? I mean,
Different racing, like
And it's tough to get the cars built in town. 'Cause
yeah,
not everybody has a garage. Not everyone can do what me and just a small amount of people can do that are willing to do it on the side, like build someone's cage for a fair price without
That's-
costing. Like a dirt car now, if you got to have someone do everything for you, you're looking at 4 or 5 G.
yeah, you're looking at a couple
Right.
grand in just cage work.
Yeah.
all the metal's been through the roof lately.
Yeah,
right?
metal's gone
Well, the
crazy.
prefab kits are the way to go.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, they're ERW, electrically welded, so they're not DOM, but
Oh.
they're a hell of a lot cheaper.
But that's what I mean. That's what when I said you need somebody like you to be able to keep it growing? Because you've been busting your ass doing cage for basically next to nothing
Yeah,
for years
I think
just
probably
to
about
build
40,
for
50% of the cages out there are mine.
yeah, literally just to get the track started.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's safety. Like before, we just ran a post in the passenger seat and one in behind the driver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the original rules.
I got a car off Murphy one time. I was supposed to pull the motor out of it and then put the motor into a different car.
Yeah.
I ended up getting the motor out, but that car it was an old dirt track car, an EF Civic Hatch,
Yeah,
and it just had
sketchy.
like metal posts behind the seats.
You ever seen the one with the H beam?
Yeah.
Is that one still going?
No, they actually, I think they eliminated any more of those cars.
Dude, an actual H beam. I was like, what was it for the cage itself or?
Well, you got to run one on the outside of the door.
Yeah, but
and, like,
his cage was like either an H beam or an actual like
Never
square
seen that one.
tubing.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, I laughed so hard.
It's like
No.
a sketch. So one crash thing. Once you crash, it's done.
Yeah.
This car was basically like 3-inch pipe, like actual pipe.
Yeah.
And it just had plates welded top and bottom and then bolted to the roof and bolted to the
Yeah.
floor. And there was 2 of them.
Those thing was my first car.
And like I could grab these like cuz the whole car was gutted and it's Civic, like the roof's made out of tin. I could like move these posts and the whole roof was wiggling with it. Like
Wasn't it Miata we bought from you an old dirt car or?
No, I never did.
Because that thing only had like a welded like a rollover bar or something like that. I was
Yeah.
like, man, if somebody rolls this
Like
thing,
he
at
was
the
gonna
racetrack,
try. I
it's
think he
done.
was gonna use it as a dirt car, but then he always has so much on his plate. He never bothered.
Do you know the actual backstory of that car?
Little.
Because I nobody know it's too clean to be act up, so that's why I think that's why you wanted to get rid of it,
Well,
or
Chad had it.
oh yeah, he
Richie?
wanted a subframe
Yeah.
or something, and he just couldn't put the car looks like shit, like from the outside, it looks like totally garbage.
yeah, but it's rust, like
There's-
basically rust free.
there's very limited rust, and it's straight as a straight angle.
Yeah.
So that's why when we got it, we're just gonna put like a Miata engine and just go on the dirt track, right?
So what's happening with that one anyway?
Funding. I need money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, but it's like we kind of slowed down during the summer because like dude,
Everything else. Yeah.
there's
Yeah, I
so
mean,
much
A
thing.
team running 4 pro-am drift cars trying to
4 pro-am drift cars, our personal events, like season opener, season closer.
Yeah.
In the summer, that's why like that's kind of explain why we've been away for so long. It's just like we don't have time to create
Yeah,
content.
we didn't even really say that.
Because like the car Ophir hits the wall every event. Mark's ride the whole wall, and did you see what happened?
Way to call the boys out.
Yeah. I can call myself out because my car's been broken. So.
Same. It's okay.
How's your car going though?
It's giving me a lot of grief.
Oh,
The
really?
Braking system. Yeah.
For those who don't know, yeah, it's like one of like how many drift GTO is there in the world? Like probably like 10 if there's.
Well, there's
something.
quite a few in the States.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I follow 4 or 5 guys that got them drifted right out pretty nice.
Oh, is there a reason why people don't go for those right away? Because it's good power. Like the chassis is nice and the
That's
power
not.
plant. No.
No. Well, why do you think I put all that work into it?
That's fair.
So the problem with the GTO is they only made them for 3 years, and it was like a rebadge from a different company, the Holden Monaro, from Australia. So it got brought to the States, but barely. But it couldn't make it into Canada because of front end crash problems.
They never made it in Canada?
No.
It's an import.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, so my car, it was funny how I got it because my buddy Jason Thompson had a silver one in 06 with an automatic.
Yep.
And this guy can't even drive. He's not allowed to drive. He's clinically blind, but he loves cars and he always buys stuff. And it's Jason Thompson.
Is he in town?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was working at MXC.
Oh.
So he bought this GTO and I put some headers on it and we put some drag radials on it, threw nitrous on it and take it down to Castrol.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know. I thought it was always either salvage or because like one of them got flooded, right?
Oh no, this
He's talking about a different car,
talking
not
Jason
his.
Thompson car because this is the first one. Because I remember when GTOs first came out.
Yeah.
I was working up here making killer money. I was like, I'm buying it.
Yeah.
Then I find out it's not coming to Canada. I was like, damn. Right? So fast forward, he bought this car and I re-sparked my love for it.
Yeah.
And so as I was working on this car, I'm searching Kijiji and Facebook, and I come across this ad guy looking for parts. And I just messaged him and said, hey, man, just sell it to me. He was like, yeah, my wife's bad for having too many projects. I'll
No.
let it go. So I was like, I'm looking at it. I was like, I'm offering this guy $8,000 for sure. He was like, $6,500. I said, I'm on the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on the way. So I go down there, pick it up, and he didn't tell me where he lived, but I get down there and I was going to just crash overnight, get up in the morning, pick the car up and go.
Yeah.
So I'm online looking at all the pictures and the stuff in the background, and I figured out where this car was. Right. So I went and parked where the car was, and I looked at it because it was out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then I just slapped my truck, and I went, took it for a drive, brought it home.
Really?
Yeah, but it was in it came from Ohio up into BC. Then it came from BC to here because I did a Carfax on it.
Yeah.
And the American side, detailed. Like every time it was in the shop for drivability concern or anything like that. But as soon as it hit Canada, just
Nothing at all.
where it was registered.
Huh.
So I went from BC to Alberta. Then I went into a ditch. And it bent the front up a little bit. Nothing crazy. Buddy had it on the rack, had all the paperwork. It was a body guy in Edmonton. And so everything was straight. And I said, I'm cutting that off anyway. So it's good to go. So I picked it up, brought it up here, but there were some issues with it. Wouldn't shift after 45, but it had like just over 300 horse, 317 torque, and the dyno at Cummins show and shine that they had.
Yeah.
So then, of course, then that was right after the fire because I bought that car to replace all my other projects.
Yeah.
So I just drove it around and just started playing with it. And as I'm doing research, the ass ends are garbage. Like they're the older BMW style swing arm, independent swing arm.
Yeah.
So there's no adjustment. So the more it squats, you get a negative camber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a quick fix for that. I did that. And then I'm looking at steering kits, and there is a company in Australia that was making them.
Yeah.
But just to get it to the States was $2,800.
For shipping or
The kit and the shipping. And then you had to ship them your knuckles. So you still got factory knuckles. And then they modify it.
Get those all cut up and everything.
Yeah, or do it yourself. And so I was like, oh man, it's expensive. But I had Mark's car in my shop doing the rear tube section. And I'm looking at the front end and I'm thinking, this looks an awfully lot like mine. McPherson strut. And I'm looking at it. I was like, okay. So I asked Mark, I said, can I borrow your car for a little while? You can keep it. It was during the winter time.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to take your front end off, see if it's going to work on mine. And I just roughly fitted it. And I was like, yeah, this is going to work. No problem. So I ordered the kit. It was like $1,800.
Yeah.
And they gave me the Black Friday discount, Josiah there.
Yeah. By the way, it's FDF Fab, just for those who.
Yeah.
Josiah Sally.
Yeah.
FDF Freight Shop.
Yeah.
So I bought the kit and I asked them to do a few things. Like there was the two bolts to hold the forward tension arm on.
Yeah.
I was like, can you just opt out not drilling the second bolt hole? Just drill the outermost one because I need to adjust my forward control arm to fit just right.
Yeah.
And so he was like, yeah, no problem. Do anything else? I was like, no, just that. I don't want you to go with too much trouble. And so I got it and I'm starting to put it in. And then I realized how much different the two chassis are. Like if you draw your line through the upper ball joint down to the upper strut through the ball joint, your wheel is offset front or back. And so on the GTO, it's set forward, and on the 240, it's set back. So when I put it all in there, my wheel was jammed right up into the firewall. So I moved some spacers and I got everything moved forward, but my control arms were still pointing forward quite a bit. So at that point, I was thinking, if I chop this subframe up anymore, it's going to be destroyed and it's not going to be safe anymore. So I was like, I got to build a subframe, which I was able to move the LCH forward, make it more true to a 240 now.
Yeah.
So that way there, I can buy any kit or even a stock control arm if I had to,
And
it should bolt right in.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes down to serviceability, right? If you crash and then you need a part from Australia, that's going to take like
that's
3
the
weeks
biggest
to
issue. Even with factory stuff to GTO, it's a fortune.
Oh,
Windshield,
really?
$700. Right?
Yeah, such a rare car, right? Well,
Yeah.
Most of them probably do come from Australia for parts, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, some do. Yeah, last time I got wheel bearings, I had to get it off. Basically, coming from China. That's where it came from.
Oh, right away. Yeah.
Yeah, like the wheel bearings, stuff like that. So I want to do the rear end as well. Completely eliminate that and do something completely different.
Well, we're talking about cantilever, right? At one point, or
yeah, well, I kind of brought that to Spec D. I was like, if I do it cantilever style, is it going to be okay? They were like, no, right?
Oh, they already that technically you're not supposed to
No.
touch your subframe or
No.
any mounting.
Because I called Sean and I called Dave and I was like, hey guys, like I'm not into this. I just want to compete, have some fun. I
Yeah.
don't plan on going pro. I'm 42. Chances are it ain't happening.
Yeah.
I just want to go have some fun and compete. And I was like, and they were like, we don't see a problem with you doing it, but if I get contested,
You're
I was like, that's fine. I don't care.
yeah, as
Right.
long as you're
It's
aware of that.
understandable.
Yeah.
So if I end up going through and winning and getting a license, like I can't use that car anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, but I don't plan on going any further. But like if I'm at that point and I do that, and the guy behind me is wanting to go pro, give him the license.
Yeah.
Like I'll forfeit, I'll step down. Right? If he's actually going to progress, give it to him.
Yeah.
I just want that thing on the wall that says, hey, if I do end up getting it, it's like, hey, I can go pro if I wanted to. Right?
So, when you bought the GTO, was it always intention to make it a drift car, or
Yeah.
always?
Yeah, as soon as I got it.
I mean, I do remember like this was before I knew anybody in town. I heard about scales and I showed up out there. I remember you sliding that thing when it was stock.
that was my very first one.
Yeah, the black one.
Yeah.
I think it was.
That was my very first drift.
Oh,
So,
really?
like my seat time is minimal.
Well, we all got to start at one point, and
Yeah.
like a lot of people don't understand how expensive drifting actually is, unless you get like a nice seat time car, like a G35.
Well, the G, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys remember my first attempt at drifting?
I don't think I
The
was there.
project that I built.
What?
Like
Oh,
I-
the S10.
no, the Ranger or no, the Bronco. Or no, Dodge Dakota.
Yeah, the Dodge Dakota.
Was it Dakota one?
Yeah. The first
The
gen.
S14 front end.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
that was an S10 for some reason.
No,
Well-
no. What was the old?
Because when I got into off roading, my intention was then I wanted to go drift.
Yeah.
I was watching a few of the guys starting to be around town, and I was like, I love this. I want to go. So at that point, I didn't want to build something. I wanted to buy something turnkey.
Yeah.
This green convertible 240, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like well built car. Problem is I'm 6'5".
That's
Right? So
my problem. Yeah.
everyone, like even Tokyo, was like, this is a deadly car, and it was. So I went down, bought it, paid like 20G for it with
What-
no block and no heads.
Oh, okay. So it was just a rolling shell,
Yeah.
or what?
It had
Okay.
everything, fuel system, intakes, had everything but block and heads. Because
Huh.
he had a Texas speed block, he wanted another 10 grand for it. I was like,
It
no.
was like
Oh, it was LS.
it was LS.
Yeah, it was already set up for LS. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What
Yeah.
trends?
T56, fully built. That's the
Oh
one
my
that I have turned into a bar stool table. The one that all melted.
Yeah.
So I bought this car, brought it home, and when I sat in it, the roll cage was like at my ear. So by the time I got the seat down and tilted back, I'm like trying to look over the dash. I was like, I don't like this. Right? Like, yeah, I could have cut the cage out and built a new one, but that wasn't the reason why I bought it.
Well, 240s as a whole are small cars.
They are, yeah. Low
They are.
profile windshields. That's what I discovered between like the GTO and the 240.
Yeah.
Like I can sit more upright and see nice and still clear my helmet.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Me, we cut the floor down and we lowered my seat like 2 inches.
Yeah.
I'm still like probably an inch away from my roof whenever I put my helmet on.
Like even Mark's car, I'm like,
Oh yeah, 100%. But like I said, they're small cars. They look big from the outside.
Yeah.
That's it might be the lines and the proportions.
See, I fit in Mark's car pretty good, but I tried to drive Jean Louis' car, even when it was stock seats with sliders, and I hardly fit in that car.
I like how I fit in mine for some reason. Well, mine is pretty much gutted, right? It's
Yeah.
not. There's not much. to
Yeah,
it
Jean
anymore.
Louis was full interior, like still stock and
But I still have
stock
my
everything.
dash and stuff. Like my proportions should be. I should have less room than John Louis because I have like a ladder bar on the side of the.
I've never tried to drive your car.
I'll
But-
make you drive it. But yeah, what happened to that S14 there?
well, I basically turned around and tried to sell it as is. I was like, I want my 20 grand back if anybody wants this. Like it was clean, no rust, no nothing. And I just got attacked, like on all the 240 chassis. Like, oh, Fort Mac, where drift cars go to die and all this other stuff, right? And I was like,
Whoever said that, fuck you.
Right? like you can still actually go back on the S chassis pages and search my name and you'll see a lot of it.
They're not wrong, but they...
No, right? Right. So I was like, I don't want to wreck this car. I don't want to part it out. Like it's a nice car.
Yeah.
Right. So I tried for a while and eventually got it. So I was going to sell it as a rolling chassis for like 7 grand.
Yeah.
And I was keeping everything fuel related and LS related because I was then going to go build a truck. So in the end, nobody was, the guy who wanted it, I brought the car in, stripped everything out of it. He called me the night before and I was going to drive to Grand Prairie for him free.
Yeah.
Like, give me the 7G, I'll drive it to you. But he ended up backing out last minute. And at that point, it was like 2 months of trying to get rid of this thing. And I was getting frustrated. I was mad about the whole situation, more mad at myself. And so I completely stripped all the parts out of it, sold the subframe, sold a lot of the stuff. And I just had a bare chassis, like cage, no body work, nothing like that. And I was like, $1,000, come get it. Like zero rust and a well built cage. Like, I don't know why it didn't sell. Right. So I don't know if it was just a situation, people are mad at me or whatever the case may be. But
do you know how many people would jump on it? Like,
oh man.
If that went up today for $1,000,
the second you post
there
it.
would be a bid more.
So in the end, I got attacked again. Right. So
Really?
like, well, just on the comments and shit like that. Right. So
Why
I was like,
people
okay, I was like,
so-
I was like, just to punish these purists, like, because I'm against purists.
Yeah.
Right. So just to punish them, I brought the car in, I brought out the Sawzall, and I cut that car up enough pieces I could fit it in the back of a Chevy or a GMC Canyon. Yeah. And I kept the front end off it.
That was probably the last nice, like, clean S14 ever, too.
Yeah.
Bro, you didn't anticipate I was gonna move here someday?
No.
Like you
Yeah.
couldn't say
Like,
that
he was
for me?
probably still in junior high. Right?
Hey, fair.
Right? So,
Facts.
so in the end, I cut this car up and I videotaped it.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Do you still have the
I
tape? Or?
haven't been able to find it. I have to dig out my old hard drive because I think it was on there. Because I don't remember if I posted it or not. Because I tried looking for it and I haven't been able to find it.
You know how many people we can make mad, like, right now?
That could actually, even like today, that could go viral, and like
Yeah.
people would be so mad.
Oh, yeah, dude. A clean S14, like.
Yeah. So I
the
put a
snap
call
it.
out on Facebook. I was like, I'm looking for a free truck. I don't care what it is, what you got. And a friend was like, hey, I got this first gen Dodge Dakota. I was like, bring her down. So I brought it down. Like, this engine wasn't even attached. Like, I was able to pull the engine transmission out without unbolting anything. Like, the mounts are all tore up. And so I just started cutting it up. And at that point, I'm broke. I already got 20 grand invested into this.
Yeah,
But I got all the parts.
Yeah.
So I just started. Actually, a friend of mine had a Jeep YJ frame sitting there. And the front Dodge frame was hideous. Like, it was a big spring pocket. And I was like, I can't do nothing with this. So I just lopped it off right in front of the cab and actually put the frame rails from the Jeep inside there and then boxed it. And it was the perfect width for the 240 subframe. So I was able to drill the holes, mount it, done. And then I mounted the whole front tube section from the 240 on front of the Dodge. And then I made
It
my whole,
worked?
yeah, it actually fit better than it did on the
Have
240.
you seen the pictures of this thing?
I seen a few, but I think we were trying to go back to it and we couldn't find
Yeah.
them, or
Yeah, it's on my old work fab page on Facebook is where most of the pictures are.
oh, is it?
Because right after the fire, I got kicked out of it because I was using a different Facebook page to run it.
Oh,
Yeah, it was actually called Warp Fab, but I had to send in an ID. I had someone Photoshop my name Warp Fab on it
Wait,
on my
what?
license. Yeah,
Huh.
all right. So it was a bummer. I lost a lot of stuff. So in the end, I had the rear tube section to run the rear tube 240 subframe,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and I had it all into a rolling chassis. I was getting ready to throw all the wiring and everything into it, and that's when it burnt. Yeah, everything.
So for when was the fire again?
2016.
That's what a lot of people don't know about this now. Like every 3 or 4 years we get like a really bad disaster, like
The flooding.
the flood. Like what was it, like 2 years ago?
Oh no, that was
3 years.
18,
Oh, 18, really?
19, yeah.
That-
It was only like the year.
No, 19, because we just started 881 whenever we because I remember we
I got pictures. I'd have to look it up. Can't
Yeah.
remember.
bunch
I didn't
of
get
us went-
affected though.
Well, a bunch of us were at the hospital trying to put like sandbags
Yeah.
because if the hospital
Yeah.
started flooding, the whole town had to get out. And actually, this building that we're actually at NAPA Fort McMurray right now, and this whole building was at like what a meter of water in the whole store.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
bad.
crazy.
I remember walking through here after the fact, and it was.
I remember walking through here, right after the fact, because I had the big tool sale downstairs. You come in, like the floor was just muddy and like tools everywhere, and like you're
Like-
picking through the mud. Like, oh yeah, I got a deal on this thing.
Well,
Right?
I came down here right after with my trailer, and we just back and forth to the new shop where they were temporarily set up.
Yeah, on King.
We didn't strap stuff down, loaded it, drove it.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, it was only just over here, right?
Yeah. It was just a couple of
Yeah.
streets away.
So the 42-foot trailer I loaded front
Yeah.
to back was like 8 or 9 trips.
Like how did you meet Brent? Like how did you get to know him?
Brent helped out quite a bit with the first couple events.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it
Yeah,
was
the
always
second event that we had in 2011. Brent came in and hired the monster trucks with the ride-on monster truck and stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? But for context, Brent is the CEO
Yeah.
or a owner of this branch of Napa.
Yeah.
So like he's the same guy that that helps us out like quite a lot.
He's
So
always been a big supporter of motorsports and everything else.
every time, dude. Sometimes
really?
like I, it happened to me a few times. I post like we do barbecues every like season close or season openers, right? And I usually don't go looking for sponsors like $100 of food, so I put it out of my pocket, right?
Yeah.
And every time I put a poster, he's like, he sends me the poster on on iMessage. He's like, "What do you need?" I'm like, "Well, fuck, not that you're offering, but
Yeah.
but
I mean, okay.
I'm like, oh, okay. Then can you finish my car for me?
Yeah,
20 grand.
No, Brent's treated me really good over the years.
He's super nice, and yeah, he's the reason why we're pretty much afloat right now with the shop and everything. So shout out to Brent. Like we're actually in his office. So.
Yeah, we're utilizing his office right now.
Yeah. So the 240 burned, and then you went to GTOs, or
Yeah, well, after I was all said and done, like dealing with the insurance and all that stuff, and like I did pretty good.
Yeah,
There's a lot of silver linings. I lost a lot of stuff. Like,
But it sucks as the memories, you know what I mean? Like you
yeah.
spend a lot of time building shit, and
Well, I had my Eagle Talon that was there. I was building it. I had just bought a whole pile of parts for that. Yeah, and I had it all stripped, ready to go for a cage. And I also had the old Samurai. That was the one I did the 545 stroker in, the 44-inch tires.
Ooh.
I had actually, when I built that, I built it in 30 days.
The Samurai?
Yeah.
Oh really?
I built my own suspension, my own frame.
Must boogie though with a 440.
Well, actually, I didn't finish it. Right. So that was when the track kind of all fell. I went into a bit of depression.
Yeah.
The thing sat in my backyard. I didn't even want to look at it.
Yeah.
It wasn't finished because I rushed a lot of things. I didn't like a lot of things that I did because I was short time frame. Because MXC challenged me.
Oh really?
Yeah, he gave me like 15 grand worth of stuff, like my rotating assembly. So we took a 460, stroked it out to a 545. It had like $1,000 oil pan on it. It had billet pump. Like it was good for, it was supposed to be good for about 700 foot-pounds and about 450 foot-pounds of torque. Or no, 700 foot-pounds and like 350, 400 horsepower.
That sucks because MXC was a big supporter as well
Oh.
of like racing in town.
Yeah.
They think they just slowly died down, or
Well, with the flood and all that stuff and
it's a lot to take
the
in.
economy, like everything now, everybody buys online now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with the economy crashing the way it is, and with the flood, they lost a lot of money in the flood, and they're still dealing with the insurance on that. So it just became too much.
Yeah,
Rent's going up.
a lot of people don't know that's how I ended up here. It was because of MXC. Like they, I used to send like before I left Quebec, I sent a bunch of resume right at every place that I could think of. And one place was MXC, and it was like, oh yeah, let's come in for an interview. I was like, well, I'm like 3,500 kilometers away, so I should probably get on that. So I just I just flew in, and I didn't end up getting the job. So, but yeah, that's how I actually came up here.
Like they're the reason why, I guess, the things that I've done, like that, my welder is theirs, my plasma cutter is theirs.
Huh.
Like every tire change free. I walk in there and do it. Like they treated me like family.
Oh, really?
Like I could go in there and do my own alignment if I needed a hoist for an afternoon. No problem. No questions asked.
Sucks because there's a lot of company that we're missing a lot of companies like that, right?
Yeah.
That are just like a smaller business operator that are willing to give back to the community. Because like,
They're from here.
huh?
And most of them are from here.
Yeah. Because I know La Prairie is a big supporter as well of Motorsports. Because you know Dustin Stacy pretty
Yeah.
well, right?
No, Dustin.
You drive by there, you see the new truck he just bought.
Dustin?
Yeah, he just bought another truck.
For the wife, or
Yeah.
he told me he was building one, but he didn't tell me
If
what.
you drive by, I seen
Like his house was the idea I had for my house.
Oh, really?
Man,
Yeah.
Dustin's house is so cool.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's up
It's in
there.
Abasand.
Okay, what's the actual address?
Well, it's basically
Take you there when we leave.
So when I was
leave here.
designing my house, like I was my own prime contractor. I organized everything. I planned everything. So I sat down with graph paper
Yeah.
and I was like, what's my dream house? What's my dream shop? And so I'm reading through the bylaws. I'm going to all the engagement sessions and I'm getting to know everybody. And because I'm the envy of my community right now.
Yeah.
Because
Because he had like the biggest shop in
my shop is bigger than my house.
Yeah, and didn't you want to do like a section that you can like walk through to your shop or something like that at one point?
No, I wanted to keep it separate.
Oh,
but I needed to make it connected to the house.
okay. That's okay.
Right.
That's
So
the thing.
when I was in there, I was talking to all the developers and all the permit people, and I was like, so what is considered connected? Because I'm reading the bylaws and I'm thinking, what can I do? Right. And so when I was reading the bylaws, it was saying an outbuilding can only be so big, can only be so high.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, okay, well, when is it not considered an outbuilding? It says connected to the house. So I was like, what's considered connected? At first, they were like a walkway, an eavesdrop, anything like that. I was like, perfect. Right. So I make the plans and then I go to the next engagement. He's like, whoa, Shane, I got to let you know it's got to be something physical connecting it. And I was like, what about a breezeway roof? And they were like, we don't have a problem with it, but safety has a problem with it. And I said, I'll be right back. So I go talk to safety and I was like, why don't you like it? And he's like, well, people run stuff through it like electrical, gas, and you got two separate structures. So you got flexing and they don't like that. I said, what if I tell you that's not going to happen? There's two separate structures, power, everything's separate. And they were like, yeah, no problem. So that's when I started building it. And as soon as the house was decided, you got to keep it under 45% coverage. You got to have so much green space for driveway, stuff like that. So graph paper came out. I measured everything.
You know the guy who keeps looking for the loopholes in the rule book?
So, did you basically design your house yourself? Like you did
Well,
most of that yourself?
the house itself, we basically took one. You can go on any website for like cottages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have the blueprints there. So we just basically took something that we liked. And we
Really?
completely
I didn't know you
rearranged
could
it.
do that.
Yeah. Well, just the main structure, like the overall layout.
Yeah.
But then we just took it and just rearranged everything because what was the front of the house now became the back of the house, and the stairs instead of being on the outside became inside and stuff like that. We just moved it around.
So what was your plan with the second floor of it? Because like, your shop is like probably the height of this building, but then there's another second roof.
Well,
as
I got a 12.6 main floor and a standard 8 second story.
What were you gonna keep
Man
that?
cave.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you give up on that or?
Well, money gave up on it.
The car, the
Right.
man cave, the
Right.
samurai.
ADHD.
Oh, I also got to talk to you. I need the transmount done, so I'll.
Yeah.
Remember that alternator I gave you?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't need it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I still got it. You can have it back.
No, it's good.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just give me a transmount.
He's got the RX-8 subframe down there too.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Why didn't you make it to Stratotech? Because that was your main goal,
Yeah.
right?
That was my main goal. Like I was there, but the issue I'm having with my car is I can't get the brakes to work.
Why?
Well, the 04 Master was nasty. Like what happened when I hooked it all up, I was getting pressure on one side, not the other. And I was like, what's going on?
Sounds
right?
like what I went through last night.
So I actually took the lines off, swapped them, because I went all hydraulic line.
Yeah.
So I got 1,500 PSI fire rated hydraulic. It was $14 a foot. It was expensive.
I know.
So much easier to work with.
HCH, right?
Oh, sorry.
HCH, right? Hard chrome hydraulics.
Yes. Yeah. Hardcore
I
hydraulics.
do.
They did all my stuff for me too.
Me too. I like. It's the biggest cheat code because like, dude, let us go in the back room. He's like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
do you need? What do you need?
Oh, that's a
Super-
totally family run business right there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't.
Like him and his wife are that's who run it. They just bought a place down in Draper.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But when I went to every hydraulic place in town, even now here at NAPA and Bob, limited knowledge, right? This was quite unique.
Yeah.
And I left all the stuff with Bob. Bob was like, I'll see what I can do. And he just couldn't find a lot of the stuff. And I was like, well, let me go. He offered to go here, pretty knowledgeable. I went to every place, not one.
Dude.
I walked into Hard Chrome, man, like the whole shop shut down.
Yeah.
And they're all out there.
They're all looking. Dude, I went there. I'm like, they're like, so okay, so what's that fitting for? Okay, I'm like, okay, so it's going on my Nissan that has a Toyota engine with a BMW gearbox. They're like, okay. So like, we spent like hours and hours just finding the right fitting. But dude, like, yeah, like you said, even the secretary came out and was like, oh, what about this fitting? What about this? Like, they're super helpful.
Oh yeah, they know me by name now.
Yeah, me too.
So anyway, I had the issue, so I swapped the lines.
Yeah.
The problem moved to the back because I couldn't get my front brakes to pull out at all. Getting fluid, but no pressure. So when I swapped it, the front started to work, the back stopped. So like, okay, master cylinder. So and at that point I was like 3 days away. And I was so stressed out, my anxiety's through the roof. I'm yelling at my kids, and at that point I just had to pull back. You know what? I can't keep doing this. So I just gave up and I just took my time. I tried the 06 Master, but it was completely different. But the booster, I took the booster out of the 06 and tried it with the master, but this was flooded for a week underwater.
So the plastic
So
was all rotted.
who knows?
Yeah.
Like, is it working? Is it not
Yeah,
working? So
completely shot.
I put this together, and it's the same problem but reverse.
Huh.
Like, instead of the back one not working, now it's the front one not working, and I'm getting the same issues, but actually one extra problem when I swapped the lines, I couldn't get any of them to bleed. So I was like, you know what? I'm just ordering a new master, and if that don't work, well, I'm thinking, because I'm starting to try to do more research, and I'm thinking it's the actual master cylinder itself, because my lines are so much bigger.
They can pressure.
Now, according to research, it doesn't matter what size line. It can even, like, because when I looked like what size line is, why do they run a certain size line?
Yeah.
They said in the end it doesn't make an inch difference having a bigger line unless you're running big calipers.
And hydraulic won't extend at all, right?
Oh no, this won't flex at all.
Because like that, we had that problem. Brayman, whenever he first did his brake line for the 350Z, didn't realize that AN, like soft AN,
Yeah.
expand.
Yeah.
So his brake would work for like two times, and then it would become all mushy.
Yeah.
Is that what you did for your brake lines too, hard chrome, or?
No, so my brake lines, I used all stuff from here.
Oh,
I just, except for my soft lines in the wheel well. So I
Yeah.
just ran copper nickel brake line throughout the whole
Well,
car.
my issue when I brought it here, I'm running a BMW steering rack.
see, because we all have
Right.
like shit to piece
Right.
together.
Yeah, LS steering pump, and then I got my clutch line as well, and it's all basically Australian, right? So
Yeah.
it's mostly metric.
I gotta find something because like I'm running a BMW gearbox and it's like a push lock fitting.
Yeah.
So I gotta find either a way to get like a push lock. I was thinking because it's basically a brake hose fitting. So I was thinking like either flare it and just put like a brake hose fitting, or because there's an adapter that goes to 4AN.
Yeah, that's what I got.
But the adapter is $10.
I did all banjo bolt.
The
It's
shipping
10
is $10. Yeah, the adapter is $10. The
And
shipping
that's why you won't
no
do
no
it.
no. The shipping is $112.
Oh,
Yeah. So
Okay.
I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, dude, I put it in an envelope and just post it
Yeah.
to me. You know what I mean? But
yeah, like that whole setup, mine was $1,500.
for the old brake lines,
Yeah,
yeah, well,
all the banjo fittings.
they will.
That's not
never
that bad though. Like,
No,
No,
Like-
like it's probably like the best brake line system you can ever. have.
now according to Dubé though, it may not pass tech because it's not braided, but it's fire rated 5,800 psi, and brake system does not get
Yeah.
that high. And like when I was getting the one brake working, and I'm like, because I got to run them on the floor, I no flex. Like usually you can see a line flex. Like even your outer line, the factory one will flex up when you hit the brake.
Yeah,
Mine don't.
wouldn't be the same as a clutch line though. Wouldn't be considered the same as a clutch line. Clutch line you can run soft line, no problem.
Yeah, like it's all soft line, but it's like high
Very-
rated.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
But if you
it's-
get low rated stuff, you'll see it flex.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
What you were gonna say?
oh, nothing. That's the same stuff that I have from my clutch line that I got from Hard Chrome.
That's what I'm gonna do
Yeah.
too.
Man, I went in there with the fittings from each end
Yeah,
and a
that's
picture.
what I do. Too.
I went
And
in
a
with the
picture.
components, the steering rack,
Yeah.
my brake booster. I said, make this all work.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I came in. I took out the fitting from my rack because like I can put stuff together, but I don't know exactly what fitting is. So I'm dumb. I'm dumb as a rock. You know what I mean? So I just bring them everything.
Yeah, I'm
One
the
time
same thing. I'm
I-
the same thing.
I brought them my intake, my whole intake.
I did that. I did that with my intake manifold when I was just trying to get plugs and stuff for it. I just brought the whole BTR intake manifold in. I was like, I need plugs.
Yeah.
They're like, what?
Yeah,
But,
I do the same all the time, man.
At Hard Chrome when I was getting my clutch line made, I went in and the guy's name was Chris.
Yeah.
So
Chris Lambert.
yeah, so Chris came out
Same
and
dude I deal with. Yeah.
I showed him like the picture of my master cylinder, and then I brought him two fittings, and he told me what I was doing. And he's like, I was like, so you
He's
think
a big
that?
gearhead.
Yeah, he's like, I was like, you think that's gonna work? He's like, it's gonna work, and yeah, it works.
Is it the dude that lives in Edmonton or? Yeah. He told me like he does he has something pretty.
He has a Fummins too.
Oh
He
really?
was a big CR 500 guy.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he had a whole bunch of them.
Because he told me he has like I think a Ranger, Turbo Ranger or something like that.
Yeah, he has a few projects. We got to talking. We sat there. We showed up really late to pick the stuff up, and we sat there talking for like 45 minutes. Me, him, and Josh.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's got like a manual F350 with a Cummins in it. Like, yeah,
Oh, it's fine. It's sick because like I do night shift often, right? And they're the only shop that opens at 7:30 because I get off at 6:30. So yeah, they saved my life a few times. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
But
But another big shout out I want to make is Mac Tools. They stepped up and helped me quite a bit this year.
oh, that's Sean, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. So Sean, do you remember the whenever we unveiled the new look of the 46, we
Yeah.
went to like a their strip.
Yeah.
So I remember I went there one day with Colby just to buy a tool. I don't buy like a specialty tool or like nice tools because
I spent
I don't take
thousands
care of
there.
I break them or Ophir cuts them and then he takes one of my wrench and he just cuts them in half.
Well, that's the sacrificial tools. That's like Canadian Tire stuff, Princess Auto stuff.
Yeah.
You see what I did to my workbench at home.
Yeah.
I just took all my power fist wrenches and made them supports instead of just doing steel.
Oh,
It's cheap. My Mac tools, I don't cut them up.
no, I
Too
don't.
expensive.
I don't even buy them because like I know like I'm.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm gonna call out Ophir. Ophir is brutal with tools. But Ophir's gonna like there's probably like 15 wrench in the back of the E46 like under the seat. So
Man,
Yeah.
I'm brutal with tools.
yeah. So
I'm
we all have
terrible.
EDHD at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So but
The only expensive tools I have a Mac Tools pry bar set. From small pry bar.
yeah, remember that
And
one?
there's like 5 or 6 pry bars up to one that's about this long. I
Yeah.
can only find the one that's this long.
I'm about 30G invested.
In tools?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I went to so back to the story. Like
That's
Sean,
after fire.
Sean yeah, we were talking about it because we did Northern Bout and that was that year and we're like, yeah, we're doing a drift event and my colleague was like, oh dude, it would be sick if you guys could get the airport and do like a drag strip. I was like, you know, I don't have any contact there. I was like, yeah, I have a contact. Gave me the number, but anyways, like a year later, I called him and he barely remembered who I was. And I was like, yeah, I'm the guy who did the drifting at McAllen. I was like, oh yeah, what's up? What can I help you with? I was like, we're looking at an Engard or like a run strip that we can go shoot a car on. I was like, do you have any idea? He gave me like a whole list of people. It told me, let me know if you need anything else. Like I can call them for you if you want. Good luck. And that they ended up being like the most cool photo shoot that we ever had, right?
Yeah, with the helicopters.
Yeah.
So sick.
And they brought the helicopters out. They basically gave us like a whole area. They were like, I don't want to spoil it too much, but they were like, if you guys really want, we can look into you guys racing one of the helicopters on the runway.
Oh, yeah.
That would be sick, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, do you ever hear of the top fuel car, the Reaper? Yeah, it was a pretty popular car for a while. I don't know if he's still running it or not, but he moved to town.
Oh,
And he
what?
calls like the Reaper's a top fuel drag car.
Oh, like an actual.
Yeah,
top
the guy was
fuel?
working up here and he was living up here for a bit. And he calls me up. He's like, where can I run this thing? I was like, I don't know, Franklin.
Yeah, right.
Right? And I was like, man, it's like, good luck. And that's when I initially tried to set something up, but it was just a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, the airport could be a good idea, but the thing is, we wanted to do like donuts. We didn't want to push our luck, but we're joking around. We're like, yeah, what can we do to do a donut here and shit like that? But it's the smoke, right? It's
Yeah.
for because it's right next
It's
to
an
the.
active airport. Yeah. You gotta be careful.
But it was cool, dude, because like we kept seeing plane that extinguished like fire, like wildfires and stuff. Super cool experience. Like the helicopters that we seen there are like what $1 to $2 million
If you got a lot of money, buy a plane. If you got more money, buy a
I
helicopter.
know the cost.
Yeah.
All right.
Super nice gear, but yeah, no.
And they're constantly flying up Mildred Lake. Like
The-
everything else, 4 or 5 take off from that emergency runway right there.
Yeah, because they run Mildred to MLX.
But that's actually not actually pavement. Because I tried to see if we could use that spot.
Oh, the one like on the
As soon as you pass Syncrude and there's that left to go into Mildred,
Yeah.
there's that little runway there.
Huh.
Technically, that's not even pavement.
no,
No, it's like bitumen, tire sand.
need to find something. Like, there's no way that we can look back into the Tower Road thing, or
The problem with Tower Road is same issues we have with anything when it comes to development permits. And once you get over a certain amount of people per day travel, you have to update the road. So if
Oh,
you're bringing
what?
any more than like 150 people at one time, I think is the number there, you have to update the road. Now, before we got the track, or actually after we got the track, fire department. So after we actually got the track and we started running into issues with the development permit, that's when we started running into issues with the 30 acres.
Yeah.
And the issue with the 30 acres is once we went beyond the private aspect of it and started bringing a lot of people out there like spectators, we'd have to update the road, which was about 17 and a half kilometers at one point, about $1 million a kilometer is what it was going to cost.
But they paved a good 20, 30 kilometers in now.
Yes.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
But this was years ago. This was
Oh,
11
okay,
years
okay.
ago now.
And who they were just gonna give you the lease, or
Well, we got the lease. It was all secured. It was in our name. Now, there was already about 2 acres cleared there at the moment, and we had a big issue with cleaning it because people were dumping there all the time. That's why the barricades are there now. It's right after the bridge. A little S turn, there's a bridge
Yeah, yeah.
where everybody shoots.
I don't know. Last time I was in Toll Road, I was drunk.
exactly what you mean.
That's where the 30 acres are. It goes in like a big P. And like we had plans for like a big RC track, off-road drag strip. Like I had it all done up. It was like a big plan.
So
But
is it paved up to that
no,
point
no,
now?
no.
Not yet. No.
no, it's only up to about the campground, I believe. And after that, it's been a while since I've been out there.
It would be nice to at least get the ball rolling on.
But I think
something.
that lease is gone now.
Yeah.
Because we tried to like get out of it because a company in town gave us the 10 grand for the deposit, and we ended up not being able to do anything because our hands were tied. And in order to reclaim it, we would have to go in there and test all the plant life, any ground contamination, which it's been dumped on for 20 plus years, guaranteed is going to be contaminated. So we would have to remove all that contamination, bring in non-contaminated stuff, and God forbid there was any non-Alberta vegetation there. So it was going to cost millions to get out of this lease. So we're
really?
okay, we're just sitting on it, right? And so a problem was thrown onto us that wasn't even our fault. All we were doing is in there cleaning it up.
Yeah.
So in the end, we stuck with it. But I think in the end, they were going to allow us to return everything but the 2 acres because the rest of it was still untouched.
Yeah.
But then after it burnt and all that stuff, and
It's like, oh no.
because we paid for every tree on that lot.
Really?
We pay a stumpage fee because everything belongs to somebody.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Like we can harvest it and recoup some of that money, but we had to pay for all that.
If you had the chance, would you be entertained? Like, would you entertain building like a racetrack up here, or like be involved in it, or?
Well, there's one thing I would have to see is a clear, detailed plan.
Yeah, it's same thing for me.
Because
Yeah.
that's the mistake I made with the track. Like I thought, because you've got a mission statement. It's like a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And the mission statement was basically to create a facility to house as many motorsports as possible.
Yeah.
And so basically, the group of people that I had in at the time, there was more of a consensus not to go that direction. They wanted to keep it the way it was and not even, because I was always thinking about the end game plan.
Yeah.
And always start the planning now, start the relationships now. So when it comes to that time, you don't got to start from scratch.
I think people get very comfortable in like one spot, and they don't want to risk their
And me,
comfort.
I'm risking it all. I risked it all. Like people told me it was foolish. I'd never get the track.
Yeah,
And
well,
I did.
same people that told us we would never get McCon and to do a drift event. I was
Really?
like, at least let me try. You know what I mean?
Well, for me, I wasn't afraid of the answer no.
Yeah, me neither.
Right? Because I got a lot of it.
Yeah,
But I also got a lot of yeses.
yeah.
Right?
You'll never know if you never ask.
Never paid for a thing that first event. Not a thing. Everything was donated. The stands were donated. Everything.
A lot of
The
people.
food.
That's what I mean. A lot of people are willing to help, but you
Yeah.
need to.
They
get
want
out.
to see professionalism. Right?
That's the thing, and I think that's what kind of, as weird as it sounds, I think it's kind of what helps 881 because
Yeah.
like we're, well, I'll say it, we're dumbasses. Like we're just kids who wants to work on their car and
Yeah.
drive, but we keep like a certain level of professionalism.
Like if you guys go after something, I definitely help you.
That's very that means a lot because like I said, you're like the OG guy for like motorsports in town.
I don't think I'm the OG guy because there were some groups in town before.
Yeah, but to us, like you're
For
the
our
guy
generation.
for our generation, you're like the guy who laid that. It's like Murphy. Murphy is like a very well established racer. Like that's the like I'm very hard on like on the being respectful to the people that were there before us.
And that's what I was trying to do with the Clearwater Car Club.
Yeah.
Because I actually had all the old files. Unfortunately, I lost all that in the fire. But there was an old race car at the track I was going to get that race back in the day. And I don't know if you remember the Cozy Corner. It used to be out here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
original Cozy Corner.
Yeah.
On the wall, they had a picture of that car on the track.
Oh really?
Right. So I was going to get the car. We got that old water truck. So I saved that when we cleaned the place up. We cleaned up over 180 tons of garbage out of that place, and about 90 something cars, 4 or 5 Winnebagos. It was a whole summer. And Bishop's, like I used to roll up into Bishop's yard on my 7 days off. I'd grab his cab over Freightliner, his scissor neck trailer, and a loader, and I was gone for 7 days.
Bishop was a very big supporter as well. Is he still involved or no?
Oh yeah,
In Ville?
yeah. He donates all the cars and he does what he can.
That's actually why we got the Viper engine. For those who actually
Yeah.
don't know, Bishop was well. You actually talked to Bishop for us.
Well, I've been friends with Bishop's ever since by 06.
Oh really? Whenever he came,
When I started doing off roading, like we walked out there and we basically took every 4.9-inch, every 351 Windsor, every 460, and not paid a dime for it.
Really?
Because his kids were big into off roading and drag racing, type mud racing. And we were going down to CMRO races, Canadian Mud Racing Association.
Yeah.
I actually ran a 750 horse fuel, 750 horse Chevy rail car down in
Dude, those are sick.
yeah,
too.
Neilburg, Saskatchewan,
Yeah.
middle of nowhere.
The mud rail cars, they're crazy.
I always wanted to at least entertain because like I said, I come from drag racing, but the drag part that I come with is the old nostalgia dragster.
Yeah.
Like like they call
Gassers.
they call it the Fed, the front engine dragster, where you sit on the
Man,
diff.
they're so scary.
I like my ass, sorry.
There's one guy back home that runs one of those.
We have
and
two. We have two back home.
It looks so terrifying.
So
He's
whenever
in between the tires.
yeah, you're in between the tires.
Like-
You're sitting on the diff, like literally, and they make 1,500, 2,000 horsepower, and you pray for that diff to hold together because if it goes through, it goes through you. You know what I mean? So like that concept of a rail car always looked funny to me because it reminds me of a front engine dragster.
Yeah.
But one day I'll buy it from Buddy and bring it back up here because that's how I started, right? I was 6 years old and I was sitting in that dragster pretending to drive it, and but yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it like. I think I was the only one that actually went after trying to get a permanent thing. Before that's after the Clearwater Car Club.
Yeah.
Because they did it. They were pretty successful with it. Now, when I talked to a lot of the older people, the issue they found, well, each one had their own little spin on what happened.
Yeah.
But the main consensus was they made too many classes. It was a lot of work to run a dirt track. You need equipment, you need dedicated people. And the problem was they never entertained more on the use side of things. So the next generation wasn't interested.
Yeah.
So it's just kept petering off, and then they were down to like 1 or 2 cars in each class. And
That's what scares me because that's the trend that the track was started. But I think now it's getting better. I think now they're
Robbie's is involved.
Robbie's is involved. They have like good people on the board, so I'm sure like Robbie's they come from your part of town where they're big into racing down there too. I think they sponsor the track back in Cape Breton or
I'm not sure if they're sponsoring Bud Speedway, but they definitely do run.
Yeah.
When I was just back home in August there, they had there's multiple cars there that are all Robbie's towing.
Oh,
like
I
multiple.
got some good stories with those boys.
Yeah,
Oh,
from
really?
mini stocks to pro stocks.
Well,
to
when I
streets.
when I first got the track, we had to go out and raise up 16 grand.
Yeah.
So I brought up the idea of lifetime memberships, and it was $1,000, and you get access to all the events in the future, right? The founding supporters.
Yeah.
So Kyle, he bought a membership, and I think one of his brothers did too.
Jeff or they're so like I love those guys, and they're hilarious because they are the stereotypical NASCAR driver, man. I went to their
They're the crowd pleasers.
Yeah. You go to their house, there's NASCAR sitting in the driveway, like randomly in front of their shop. Like they're fucking hilarious.
Well, they asked me if they could bring out a couple cars and run them around the track when I first got it.
Really?
Right, and I was like, yeah, for sure. But the problem we had was all those tires that are in the first area when you first drive in.
Yeah,
that's what was around the track.
Huh.
Now the biggest concern there is you got that big nook in between each of the tires. So you could easily get shot right into it.
Yeah.
And those big tires, they don't budge very good.
Oh, no.
Right. And so they were out there ripping around in a couple of old boats, like big boat of cars, 2 of them,
Yeah.
and the dust cloud was insane. Like, 'cause there was no water in the track at that point.
So you can't
Not even
see.
clay, like nothing.
Yeah.
It was bad. And so as I was driving away, like you could see the cloud raising up in the air on the highway. And the next thing you know, I didn't even make it to town. And here's Kyle sending me a picture of the car on its roof
No, really?
and flattened. And he was like, "Yeah, we need to get rid of these tires." I was like,
Oh.
man, is everyone okay? He was like, "Oh yeah, we're fine."
Oh no, they're like heavy cowboy. They're hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
But they there's another group that where the professionalism comes into play, right?
Yeah.
They whenever you talk to them like one on one, like they're super they're business smart. They show they show themselves as businessmen and stuff like that. But whenever they get on track, they're rowdy as well.
Yeah, I hope they do good things. Like
I'm
Kyle
sure they will.
basically said that they're definitely pushing to get it paved.
Yeah, I know. I know they told me that as well, and I know Jeff is big. I got spent a few times in Jeff's garage and just
Yeah.
like drinking with him, and yeah, I think it's gonna happen. Well, I hope it's gonna happen, but it's just a matter of whenever I think a lot of people are just scared to get the ball rolling, or just scared to get the first.
A
kick
lot
in.
of people are scared of the word no,
That's the
right?
thing,
That's
right?
the like. For some
That's why I
reason,
got what I got when they keep saying it's not affordable. I was like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing with Macallan. Everybody would told me that they will never have a drift event or another motorsports event. I was like, did you ask? Like, did you try to ask?
Yeah.
them?
You just got to wait a while because people never stay in those positions very long.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Because you got one person. Because like when I started my house, everybody that's in the RMWB now, there's only one person that's still there.
Oh,
when
really?
I started it. Yeah. Because I got to know everybody in there. Right?
Nah, man. But thanks for coming on the podcast, dude.
Oh,
It's
it's
super
something
appreciated.
different.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You have so many cool stories, so we're like,
Oh, I could probably talk for hours here.
oh yeah.
Well, it's every time like you go to Shane's place, you're not leaving with it.
Oh, dude.
Unless he has somewhere to be. But if he doesn't, you're there.
Oh, it's cool. Like I said, that's why podcast kind of works for me and you because you're the same as me.
Yeah.
We're very interested in people.
Mm.
Like I'll sit down and just listen to what you have to say for hours and hours and hours.
I'm the same way. I've been wanting to go down and talk to the old Aboriginal guy that's living in the camper down at the end of Franklin.
Oh,
I don't know if he's still there now, but he's been there a while.
I think he's still there. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure he's still there.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
really?
some kind of protest or something.
oh, no,
But
oh,
man,
never-
the stories that they could tell you.
well, that's the thing. Right? And you learn how to not make the same mistake as the people that you know what I mean. So
Well, that's why I reached out to all the original Clear Rock Car Club guys. Was like, what? Like, I even went down and met with Castro as soon as I got the track.
yeah.
I called them up. I said, "Hey, you willing to have a meeting with me, walk me around, show me what you guys do,
Yeah.
how things work, and stuff like that?" And yeah, she brought me down there. I got a tour of the whole place.
Castro's is wicked.
This is when they were just starting the road course.
Oh, really?
Like, they were just starting to level the trees.
Yeah.
Is when I went
Oh,
down.
wow.
Yeah.
It always comes back to what you say. Like, don't be scared to have the no as an answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As like if you
Take the
have
chance, do it.
take the chance, like you'll miss it. Like, it comes back to the whole saying: you'll miss 100% of the shots you
Yeah.
don't take.
Well, I always aim for the stars. If I get to the clouds, I'm happy.
Yeah.